Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy SoSo, and welcome back to the channel. Make sure to hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. As you may know, we were recently at BKFC 26, where we saw an amazing fight for the interim middleweight championship belt at Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood, Florida. Now, we're here with the winner of that fight, Francesco Ricchi, and he's here to represent. Frank, thank you so much for doing this, brother.
You got it, my brother. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Before we get started, tell the people where they can find you on social media.
So Instagram handle is Francesco__Ricchi, and then my Facebook is just name and last name, Francesco Ricchi.
And we have to give out a big shout out to the Delray Beach Boxing Club, who's allowing us to be in this amazing venue where you just finished training a little while ago. And again, man, we recently saw you in Italy celebrating your championship. You train, you vacation hard. Talk to me about that vacation, man. What was that like?
So I actually went, the only reason why I ended up going in July was because a good friend of mine that I grew up with in Rome, he got married, but in Puglia, which is where his family has a vacation house.
Dope. Congratulations to him, man.
Thank you, thank you. I actually didn't even know he was getting married until I just got the invite. But he got married down there, and then we just, I spent some time with my girlfriend, my family. We went on the coast, and then my parents left, and then me and her stayed for another 10 days.
Awesome, man. And you were born in Italy, correct?
Yep.
How's that feel, man, bringing that championship belt back to your homeland, bro?
It feels amazing, man. The Italian fans are really passionate, If you've ever been to a soccer stadium in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
Matter of fact, anywhere in Europe, man.
Anywhere,
Ireland,
man.
England, they're all, even in Germany, they're passionate, So, yeah, it was awesome, man. A lot of people recognized me, thankfully, and it was good. I made a promise to bring the belt back home after my last fight with Boswick, and I feel like I delivered.
You definitely delivered, bro, for your people, man. That must have been an amazing feeling. And I got all the vibes from it watching it on Instagram. So make sure you guys follow this guy's Instagram because it's pretty interesting. Let's get a little bit into the fight game here. You mentioned the fight against Yuli for the interim middleweight championship belt. He was one of the few guys who was actually willing to step up and face you for that interim title. What were your thoughts going into that fight? Because you know Yuli personally, you guys have a good relationship, but you're both fierce competitors and both trying to be at the top of this division.
Yep. I mean, me and him have talked about it before. I think it was actually at the weigh-ins for the Knucklemania fights. We've both gotten contracts with our names on it and, reached out to each other and we said, listen, there's really no reason to fight right now. It was more out of respect, really, because eventually if you keep winning and you keep, dusting people the way that you are, you're going to fight. Both me and him were ranked in the top 3. So if you won this fight and I won this fight, we were eventually going to fight each other. So it just ended up happening that the 3 people that were at the top, all the names that got thrown in the mix, none of them really accepted except for me and Yuli. So I feel like, sooner rather than later. But we knew that if it was going to be for a title, then we would fight each other. If it wasn't going to be, there wouldn't be any sense,
Makes sense, man, because when you guys are true friends in and out of the ring, right, you want the competition to be at its highest form. And fighting for a belt is definitely at the highest form.
For sure. And I mean, I may end up fighting him again, if he ends up fighting somebody else, getting back up. He's one of the toughest fights in that sport. I mean, keep in mind, before he had lost to Thiago, nobody wanted to fight Yuli. He was a force to be reckoned with. He was dusting people left and right. I mean, even in boxing, people couldn't make it to a belt with him. So Yuli, he's right there. People like to say that, now all of a sudden there's this person, there's that person, but he's still in the mix. I feel like after you lose a title opportunity, as it's happened to him in the past, you're probably 1 or 2 wins away from fighting for the title again. So
absolutely, especially when you've put in the work, right?
Absolutely.
Like Yuli has. And I think that you're in the middle of putting in that good work where you have an undefeated record in bare knuckle fighting championship. You're 5-0. You're holding the belt. You got a potential fight coming up against the #1 ranked guy at the moment, which is Mike the Marine Richmond.
Yep.
Tell me what you think about him as a potential opponent, because we talked off air about some other guys that may be willing to fight you, may not be willing to fight you because they're scared of your potential, like you said, you're dusting them on pay-per-view.
I like Mike Richmond a lot. He's a very credentialed vet. He's been around for a long time, and I like the challenges. I like the fact that right now everybody's calling him the pound for pound, and he's unbreakable. He can't be stopped. He's never been knocked out. I mean, he's been TKO'd once, but the guy was still trying to fight back into it.
Yeah. If it was up to him, he would have finished that fight.
Exactly. My whole thing is I've never really chose a fight. I mean, I've chose fights when they gave me somebody that I thought I shouldn't even be in there with, somebody that's coming off of 2 losses. Matter of fact, the person that ended up pulling out on me, that I ended up not fighting for because I had 5 different opponent changes that fight in November, I didn't want to fight that guy because I didn't think that he should be in there with me. Not because I'm trying to disrespect the guy, but
he didn't deserve the spot.
I was choosing fights that would get me closer to the title.
Right.
I wasn't trying to fight some guy that, just fought 2 guys that were cooking tacos the night before the fight. I'm trying to fight people that are going to get me closer to the title. People that, if I beat this guy, everybody's going to think that he's going to win. I'm the underdog. And then when I smoke this guy, people are like, oh, shit, this guy Frank's for real. Those are the guys that I'm trying to fight. That's how I would choose my fights. I would choose my fights to try to get closer to a title shot. Now that I'm in the seat that I'm in, I'm at the throne, the only thing I got to do is pick up the phone when Nate calls me and says, hey, listen, we want you to fight this guy. Great, cool.
Set it up.
As far as I'm concerned, Richmond doesn't want to fight me right now. He wants to fight Lorenzo Hunt because they've got some beef going on. But whenever Richmond, even if Richmond, for example, loses that fight with Lorenzo Hunt, I don't think that he will. I think that Richmond's really strong. I think that he's got a good style to beat somebody like Hunt, but I wouldn't be surprised either way it goes because Hunt's a bull.
Right.
But let's just say that whoever loses that fight, whoever wins that fight, Richmond loses that fight, he's still entitled to a title shot at 175. There's a bunch of people that never even made weight for 175 that are trying to get a crack at the champion. Back when Thiago was champ, at least.
Right.
So now my job's a hell of a lot easier. Richmond is more than welcome to do whatever the fuck he wants to. I would watch his fight with Lorenzo Hunt. I was watching his fights when he fought Dakota Cochran, not because I thought that he was going to be a threat in the future, because I like bare knuckle as a sport. Every time that they put on a main event fight with, even when Lorenzo Hunt fought, not Joe Dyer, Joe Riggs. I watched that fight. I watched him because not only am I an athlete, not only am I a worker for the company, not only am I somebody that's subcontracted by them to fight, I'm also a fan. And I think if Mike Richmond fights Lorenzo Hunt and he wins, great. That puts even more steam on our fight. Now when he fights me, it's champ versus champ. Now when me and Richmond fight, he's getting the header to become a double champion, and I'm fighting somebody that the whole public views as this guy's going to steamroll him, that he's going to win, he's this, he's that. So it puts a lot more weight on the fight because now it gives me more to win. So whatever Richmond decides to do, he's more than welcome to do. I'm pretty sure somebody else will step up. I mean, I'll keep busy, I'll keep that belt nice and warm for when me and him fight. So
right. So you're if I'm getting the sense from you, you're a guy who always stays ready, right? Like we talked about. You're always working in the gym. You're always looking towards a big fight because you don't want to be just a guy who's in it to be a gatekeeper or anything like that. Everything that I'm getting from you, Frank, is that you're trying to get to the top, stay at the top, and dominate, whether it's at 165 or whoever is coming at you. With you being the champ and being in control, what do you think is the maximized possibility for you to finish off the year if you get this potential fight with Mike signed on the dotted line, actually, right, and push through, where we can see your skills come to showcase yet again? Because that fight against Yuli was amazing, but I want to see you continue to fight big names and bigger opponents for, essentially for you to keep your belt.
Yeah, so yes to most of that. I don't stay ready. I wish I could be training every day. I don't get the leisure. But whenever I get an inkling that somebody, or that there's an event about to go on, I will try to get in somewhat shape. But no, normally I have very short camps, unfortunately. Hopefully now that I'm the champion, that'll change. Maybe I get some sponsors, try to, get me to not have to work as hard. But to get back to the question, yeah, 100%. I want to fight as often as I can. I have a knee injury that I actually suffered before the fight that, like I said, if it was up to me, I would turn around and fight in a month. We just have to see. I get an MRI, and now in a couple of days, we have to see where I'm at with that. But I'm not going to hold up shit. I want to fight as soon as I can. As far as I'm concerned, BKFC only comes down here 3 times a year. So if we're set up for November to fight in November, I'm good. I mean, my last fight that was a year ago when I got an injury is when I broke this hand. And I have a piece of titanium in this hand. I still was able to recover, and I was ready to fight in November, which was a couple months after that fight. So I'm not going to hold up the belt. I'm not going to sit there and hold anybody off. If I had it my way, I'd fight another 2-3 times by the end of the year. Hopefully it plays out that way. If they can come down here and we can fight in November, October, September, whenever the case may be, hopefully I don't need any surgery on this knee because I do have a torn ACL and meniscus. I would rather not take surgery. I've had this injury before I didn't need surgery. So if all the cards play out 100%, I want to stay busy. But so far, since I won the title, I haven't got called out by anybody. A lot of people wanted to fight Thiago, but I haven't gotten called out yet. Maybe, a new contender emerges from this next card that's coming up, but we'll see.
Do you think it's because people are afraid of you? Do you think it's because they respect you too much as far as your fighting ability, saying, I have no chance against this guy, I'm not going to try to get embarrassed by Frank, I'd rather go fight XYZ and make a little bit of money or get an easier fight?
I don't know why it is. I'm not arrogant enough to say that people are afraid of me because at the end of the day, we are fighting bare knuckle, even though I do believe that there's a bunch of pussies in fighting in general. Because for you to fight somebody that you feel like you can beat, but not fight somebody who you think can beat you is a weak mentality. That's almost like you being a bully or you trying to fight somebody that's helpless against you.
Right.
So I do believe that there's a bunch of pussies in the fight game. For example, a bunch of people that decline to fight me time on time again. when the offer was presented, including people that also fucking hate me. But I'm not saying that's why I haven't gotten called out. I will get called out. I'm going to have somebody that has a big win or that is confident in themselves that's going to call me out and is going to fight me. I don't think that these guys are necessarily scared. I just feel like maybe I set the bar to achieve the title just a little bit higher. I'm not saying necessarily that I'm better than Thiago, but I'm saying that maybe some people felt like Thiago was a more rewarding win in the sense that the guy's a veteran and he's got a huge name behind him. If you beat Thiago Alves, you've got a lot of cameras on you. But now all of a sudden you've got to fight somebody that maybe they view as less beatable than Thiago Alves that doesn't have that huge crowd following. And for, certain people, they would just rather not lose to me specifically.
Right.
So
I can see that. And I feel like that is the case right now, because like we were talking off air, you mentioned a bunch of guys, right, that were kind of ducking and dodging, not really committing to fighting. And that's something that I see in you, where you're always willing to fight and have that heart of a lion. We talked a little bit about your injury in 2020, where you suffered that injury in a fight against Nate, and you still were able to come back, not let that hold you up, get into the ring in bare knuckle, and then continue that journey towards getting the belt. You suffered an ACL injury, broken hand. Like, what's that warrior spirit like for you in a physical sense, and where does it come from?
Bro, honestly, I don't know. It's I think if I had to dig deep, I would think that it's just something that you're born with. But in all honesty, it's I'm not saying that people can't achieve that or people can't get that. In all reality, the conditions that I'm put under, the situation that I'm in my day-to-day life is my job. I love it to death, but a lot of the times it sucks. And I look at fighting as a vacation, the same way that you would look at going to Cancun for a month and you can't wait for fucking, August 12th, for example, to hit so you can finally fly and take off to Cancun. I hate my job.
Get your outfits ready,
That's
everything
how I feel
lined
about
up.
fighting. When I'm in the back and I'm warming up, dude, me and my coaches, matter of fact, Justin, wherever the fuck he is.
Shout out to Justin for bringing the gum.
He's around here. Him, Marcos, Mano, we're all in the back shooting shit, laughing. Like, we're cracking jokes. We're behind, like, the curtain before, like, I'm supposed to walk out.
Right.
And we're sitting there making bets, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're being dumb like that. I'm not saying we're playing dice, but,
No, you're having a good time. You're loose. You're relaxed.
Having a good time, man. I love it because it's just, I'm not going to say, I'm born for fighting, I'm built for fighting. But no, man, I'm that kind of person that when I was a kid, I was a little bit too energetic, a little bit too touchy, a little bit too playful sometimes. So I got in trouble back then. When that shit isn't allowed, I got in trouble.
I know the feeling. I'm sure Joel knows the feeling too.
And trust me, a lot of people would love to get the opportunity of like punching somebody you don't like in the face. Like we don't sit behind cubbies in an office typing shit on a computer.
On an email, right?
You know what I'm saying? I mean, actually, some people do in this company. But the beautiful thing is that all you got to do is just phone the matchmaker and say, I want to fight this guy. And
right.
Hopefully, that guy signs to fight you too, and then you guys can fight, duke it out.
That's awesome, man.
So that's why I love fighting, man. And then the other thing too, man, is I'm not gonna lie to you. The first fight that I had, I got humiliated in front of my friends. Like, it was, like, bad. Like, I trained my ass off. I was in diesel shape. I was at a gym that didn't have a lot of wrestling. Like, we did, a lot of, like, a little bit of boxing.
And we're talking about your first MMA fight, right?
First amateur MMA fight, yeah.
Got it.
And I got slammed on my head, like, the last 10 seconds of that fight. And I got humiliated in front of my friends because imagine getting knocked out in front of all the people that have nothing to do with fighting. All my friends were all, real estate agents, doctors, brokers, or, business
customers,
analysts,
right.
Working for Merrill Lynch, like crunching numbers, like different crowd completely than fighting. They're thinking, oh, Frank's, the big bad guy. Which, not that I pursue myself that way, but you have a friend that fights.
No,
like,
they believe in you, right? They're believing you. They're there to support you. They're there to see your homie knock somebody out.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, like, he gets smoked. Now you're just like, oh, shit. Like, life's not what I thought it was. And
right.
So the way I feel was, fuck, man, like, I can't go out like that. I need to get right back in there. So I went to the gym where I was getting the shit beat out of me every Saturday whenever I would go to their open sparring. And then these guys were all, at the time, we had animals there. My buddy Yoslandi, which is one of the key figures in my life. Alexis Vila, he's another one. And in the fight career. Romero was there. Romero, he was there. There were like so many Olympic wrestlers that went through there. One of my best friends, training partners, Michel Batista, he pinned Cormier in their Olympic match.
Wow.
Daniel Cormier. And like, that's
Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier.
Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier.
Right.
So, and Michel won a bronze medal in freestyle wrestling.
That's
these
amazing.
guys were like, these.
Yeah,
so I'm like,
killers. You got some killers in there.
That's where I got to go. And bro, I'm talking about Gustavo, like the little Gustavo, not your Cuban assassin.
Right.
Motherfucker was like short as hell. Like he was beating me in wrestling, you know. And I'm like 6'3". The guy's like 4 foot nothing.
How's this happening?
How's this happen? He's a Greco-Roman Olympic wrestler. Vila was like out wrestling me. So I'm like, this is where I gotta go.
Right.
So realizing that, hey man, like wherever it hurts the most, like where the most pain is, you just gotta just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. Almost to a point where you're like, you have no control over what the fuck's going on. It's all willpower. Hey, it hurts, keep going.
Right.
You know? And you have that quit that it's like until the light switch is hit and you're off, like you just got to keep going forward. That's kind of where I got to it. And then little by little, you know, you try to throw some intelligence in there and try to not do some dumb shit.
Game plan, train,
maybe
eat right.
get to the dance in a little bit better shape.
Right.
And all that stuff just kind of plays into it. And I think that's where, you know, that's where I gained the persistence, you know, the motivation to keep doing the shit that I do. That I'm not gonna say like a will to die, but being ready, like, hey, you know what, man? Like I signed. I feel like I promised these people something. The people in the stands, the people that support me, I promised them something. Like I will come out victorious.
And you got to deliver.
I have to, you know?
I mean, look, you made that promise to bring the championship belt back to Italy, and you did it. You know,
100%.
and I'm sure that's one promise that you scratch off the board. You write another one, right? And you keep going and you keep adding. Yeah. And I feel like that's why you found your niche in bare knuckle, right? Because like I looked you up, obviously when I was doing my research, I saw you did MMA, I saw you did some boxing as well, and then you found your way into bare knuckle fighting. And it takes a certain type of person, right, to say, yeah, I want to get into this because this is where I can really make an impact. What was it about bare knuckle fighting for you that you saw that it was like, man, this is a really good lane for me in my career right now?
Man, to be honest with you, Nate reached out to me. I didn't know who the fuck this guy was because it was just like Facebook nowadays has like so many scams. So whenever you get reached out by somebody that you don't know and they approach you with, hey, how are you?
Or it's like, hey, are you interested in an opportunity to make money?
Or something like that. You know, I'm just kind of like, yo, hey, you know, what's going on here?
For me, it's always the Asian girls in my WhatsApp. It's like,
oh my God, that's another one.
They want to
get
together
to make
for
10,000 followers?
No. It's like, hey, haven't seen you in a while. Want to get together for a lunch meeting?
And you're driving with CarPlay and your wife looks at you and goes, wait, what?
What? Excuse me?
Who the hell is this Sonya chick? And you're just kind of like, baby.
This is not me. This is not me.
Like drive
pull over.
But nah, so Nate reached out to me and he goes, hey, you know, this and that. And I'm like, oh, you know, cool. Like it was just like, hey, how are you doing? Or something along those lines. And I'm like, all right, well, doing great, you know. How are you? So he hit me with, a great fight last week. And I was like, oh, you know, thank you, you know. I didn't know who he was. And then I went on his profile and it was just a picture of him and Katie. And I was like, okay, you know, cool. So he reaches out to me, he goes, hey, do you want to fight bare knuckle? And I'm like, money talks, you know?
Yeah, what are you offering?
I saw it, you know?
What are you offering?
I'd do anything for, I mean, you know.
Whoa, not everything.
You know? But there's a lot of shit people do for money,
in the fight world. In the fight world.
So, so he goes, yeah, you know, like, well, we're paying X amount. You know, it's fucking $1,500. And I'm like, I'm sorry, bro.
Sorry, man.
I made that my last
Not today,
fight,
man.
You know? So he goes, oh, well, how about this? If you sell 50 tickets, we'll pay you X amount. And I'm like, tons.
Son.
That's easy.
Yeah, right.
Are you saying
I got 100 sold right now?
You're saying that you'll pay me 5? Like, how's this work? So that's exactly what happened. And then, you know, it's been a roller coaster from there. And then I fought there. And then I had like a bunch of like medical shit that I was going through after that fight. You know, I did some radiation treatments. I did some stem cell injections for lymphoma. Okay. Non-Hodgkin's B-cell lymphoma. I didn't put the weight back on after the fight. After the radiation, the way that I should have. And I remember I was actually training here. I was training with my buddy Jonas. He's a pro fighter, but like everything just felt off. And I really underestimated the guy that I was fighting. Not because I underestimated him necessarily, but I looked at his record in MMA. He was 1-5, you know, whatever. Not realizing that the 5 losses he had were from like wrestlers, you know, and people that would take him down.
Got it. Real guys.
Not really taking him seriously, thinking that, you know, I was high on my own supply. Who's gonna beat me? You know, like I trained with this guy, I trained with that guy, which was a recipe for disaster. And I really I didn't feel like myself without taking anything away from Noah Cutter. But I go in that fight like really taking it lightly, like severely taking it lightly. And I found myself making I looked horrible. I made huge mistakes. And I'm not saying that I would have beat Noah Cutter any faster if I was trained.
But that's just what
maybe
the
if
reality
I went
was.
to a decision. But I wouldn't have gotten punched in the trachea, though. That's for damn sure.
For sure.
So I ended up going in that fight. And I remember thinking in the first round, I'm like, bro, when I recover, I'm going to kill this motherfucker. But I couldn't see. I remember getting up. And I wasn't really like hurt by the punches that I got dropped with because I got back up. My equilibrium was fine. Everything was fine. But I couldn't see what the fuck I was getting hit with. And one of my main assets in fighting is vision. I could normally see every punch that's coming. That's the reason why I have a pretty strong chin. I feel like that's the reason why people can take punches the way that they can take them, because when you see it, you can kind of like brace for it, you know, roll with it. It's a huge asset to be able to see everything in fighting, you know? And I just couldn't see shit.
It really helps with the reaction time as well, because if you see it, you can kind of move your body in that direction. You know,
your counters, everything
exactly.
that you're doing. And I remember, bro, I was starting to see shadows. I couldn't breathe. I was asphyxiated. Like, everything was just kind of like choked up here, you know? And I made it back to the corner, and then my cornerman gives me some water, and it just kind of like cleared it out. I felt like I was swallowing a fucking cat. It was like, once it cleared out, though, I remember looking at Noah Cutter in between, like, or like as the second round was about to start, and he's like eager, you know, like jumping at the bit. I'm gonna finish the job, and I'm just kind of like, all right, motherfucker, watch this.
Now it's on.
Now it's on. And
now it's on.
You know, I went to town that round, and then I think I knocked him out early in the next round. But not to take anything away from him, man. Noah Cutter, I think, is really efficient for bare knuckle. Tough fucking dude. Hits really hard and had like very unorthodox punches, like very hard to see. But I feel like I had the very least, I might have even got dropped more times if I was more technical. Maybe, who knows?
Right.
But I definitely wouldn't have gotten fucking punched there, which was what ended up putting me in a coma. You know, I was in a coma for 3 weeks. My family was freaking shitting bricks.
Yeah, man. I saw that, and I read about the induced coma that you were in, and you know, it showed me like, man, this guy is really committed to this art, you know, because
100%.
a lot of people would see that injury or sustain that injury and say, fuck, man, you know what, I'm done with this, you know, I'm risking my family, they're worried, this, that, and the other.
Oh, everybody told me to stop after that, man.
I bet.
My dad tried to like schedule an intervention at the gym. My dad's done the worst, most horrific shit. Him and his father, my grandfather before. My grandfather used to get dropped off in Nazi territory by parachute and steal Nazi motorcycles back in the war.
What?
And this asshole's trying to tell me that what I do is dangerous. Right?
Excuse me, sir. Do you remember what you did to pave the way for us to get here?
He's like 93 years old, driving a stick shift, punto diesel, like uphill, downhill, honking it. He's got one hand on the wheel, one hand on the freaking, on the horn, you know?
And he's already in fifth gear.
He's
not changing it.
So him and my dad, you know, my dad was trying to like schedule an intervention, trying to get me to stop all this shit. And I'm like, listen, bro, I'm way too old for this, you know? You do you, I'll do me. But everybody else, you know, like people in my gym, people in my life were just kind of like, we just don't want to see him fucking hurt, you know?
Right.
A lot of people, I mean, the doctor told my dad that, listen, if he wakes up, I'm not saying going to be a vegetable, but he's going to have severe brain damage because he was without oxygen. When I got to the hospital, my blood oxygen saturation was 78%. It was like dangerously low. Like under 90, you risk brain trauma.
Right.
So he's just like, if he wakes up, the chances of him being 100% are just like, they're not there, bro, if he wakes up. So hearing that as a dad, of course, in the hospital, they try to get you ready for the worst, you know?
Right.
But my dad was just kind of like, fuck, you know, you're not doing this. He tried to like close down my shop, trying to organize all my affairs just in case, you know?
Right.
So I remember when I woke up and I turned my phone on, thankfully one of the nurses had like a charger for my phone. My motor skills were off. Like I couldn't type shit. Like everything was off. I was drugged out of my fucking mind. I had these like weird hallucinations. I mean, it was crazy.
Trippy, bro.
But the first thing that I wanted to do was look at my fight. And I know the only one thing that was clear to me, it wasn't my name, it wasn't nothing. They were calling me Hector Ulloa. There was an alias on my fucking name because I passed out before I even signed any paperwork.
So they couldn't even know who you had.
They put me in as a freaking alias. Nobody knew where the fuck I was or like nothing. COVID was still around at the time. November 2020.
Right.
So my parents couldn't even get a hold of me. Like it was like,
yeah, and you're in there by yourself, dude.
In there by myself. I wake up like, hey, Hector, how are you? I was like, oh, shit, what you guys put in this stuff? You know,
like I'm Hector now?
Literally, I was tripping out. But the one thing that to me was clear was I looked at the fight, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I'm like, that's not me. I'm like crossing my feet, chin up in the air. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Looking like an amateur.
And, bro, the only thing that I had in my head at that time, I'm like, I need to redeem myself, man. I need, you guys got to let me out of here. I'm trying to, like, pull, like, the needles off. They're just like, put this guy back to sleep, man. Give me the morphine. So I was, like, trying to, like, get out of there and shit. And I ended up signing my AMA or AMS against medical advice. Right. I signed that to try to get out of the hospital because I was fucking dying in there, man. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. So I got out. It took me like 2 weeks to like walk again because my muscles were just, dude, I was 152.
Of course, you were out. You were out. Jeez.
Out.
And you're a big dude, man. For you to be 152.
From 200 to 152.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
So got back on my feet, started walking again. And then the only thing that I wanted to do was freaking fight, man. Like, was just get back, you know, just redeem myself for that one loss. And then that's when the Maxwell fight came, and then, you know.
Then you've been on fire ever since then, bro.
Is history, baby.
You've been on fire, man. Because one thing that I definitely walked away from on BKFC 26, right? Because I was close, right? I don't know. You definitely didn't notice because you were so focused. But when you walked in, I'm like right there by the walkway, and I'm kind of like trying to get a gauge for how everybody was entering the ring that night. And I remember in my notes, I was like, fierce. Like, damn, I don't know why, but
You
I
heard
feel
the
like
walkout song when I walked out?
yes, bro, the fucking Mickey Blue Eyes. I kept telling everybody, I was like, do you hear this? I'm telling like the guys from the commission. I was like, you and Frank and like 4 other people are the only ones know who this is right
Bro,
now.
everybody was like, bro, why'd you walk out to a love song? I'm like, why not, man? What's about to go down?
Yeah, man. And also it's also paying respect to your heritage, you know what I mean? And like, and that Italian background. But for me, like, I just remember you being so fucking fierce that night and like focused, you know? Because again, this is me, and you can probably confirm this. I got the sense that you knew that there was a lot on the line, right?
Oh, of course.
Right? Because had you lost to Yuli, who knows how far back that puts you, right?
Of course.
We talked about Thiago leaving. We talked about other guys who are fighting in London coming up that don't want to fight in this division right now. It would have just set a bunch of things in motion that like would have possibly just derailed your career here.
100%.
And I feel like with that intensity that you were walking into the ring, we saw the execution because you were flawless that evening, bro. Flawless, man. It was really impressive to see how you did that. What was your game plan coming into that fight, and what helped you as far as your training to get to that position where you ultimately, you know, dusted Yuli, man?
So to like touch up on what you were saying, like not only the risk of obviously like falling back in the ranks and all that shit, but dude, you have no idea how many people, like I'm not a guy that like too many people hate, but the people that hate me
hate you hard.
Really fucking hate me. We have like a rivalry.
So hold on, wait, real quick before you finish that thought. Do you think that this interview is gonna make them hate you even more?
Oh, without a fucking doubt.
Awesome, let's get
without a doubt, baby.
All right, good. Let's keep it rolling.
We have this gym that they really can't stand us. I'm not for the
they know who they are.
Since the smoke just kind of settled, I'm not gonna like mention any of their names except for this fat ass Josh Mercado that really hates me and he's part of that gym. But apart from
except for him.
I pied his bitch ass in the locker room, but after the Maxwell fight actually. But apart from him, but they really can't stand us. And like it was funny to see all these people that normally are quiet, but like for example, like when I was walking out to the Boswick fight and they were interviewing him, they're like, "Oh, Boswick's gonna win in a brutal fashion," you know, as a pun because brutal Boswick because he was fighting me. So it's the most reassuring feeling in the world seeing people that really hate you. Like really fucking hate you. Who make excuses for your success. You know, they just can't stand to see you win. And when I walked out and I saw the people that were sitting ringside and all the people that were there, I was like, all right, guys, sit tight, grab your popcorn, and just enjoy. Because I knew that they were sitting there and they were like, ooh.
Yeah, man.
They had that smirk like, Yuli's going to get you. And I'm just like, okay. And that's the only thing that to me was bittersweet was the fact that I couldn't celebrate after that fight, like in the ring, because we hurt each other. You know, he's my boy.
Absolutely, man.
Listen, if he would have hurt me, I would have been just as happy for him as he was for me. But that's the reason why I love the guy so much, man. He's a charismatic guy. We're brothers. But it was bittersweet for me to, like, enjoy it. But at the same time, his team, oh, my God, dude. Not Dino and Fifth Street Gym.
Right.
But the Goat Shed guy, like, everybody else, like, behind him, you know, like, all those guys, they really wanted him to fucking win. So, like, when he lost and I saw those guys that were there.
That smile got extra wide.
Bro, oh, my God, dude. I was cheesing from ear to ear. You know, I was grinning. But there was a lot on the line also because of that. Because I can't let these guys, including, you know, Perry and like all these other assholes, I can't let them get their way and, you know, see, I told you this guy sucked, or I get to, a lot of people celebrate your defeat. And to me, that doesn't change anything at all. It's not like I'm not going to go for the high stakes because I'm afraid that if I lose, these people will talk. I could not care. Dude, I'm on my path. You're on your path. It is what it is. You talk shit when I lose. It's great. Cool. But just, you know, I'll remember it. You know, in the future, I'll definitely remember it. So that was definitely something that like added on to everything. And to kind of like answer your question, I feel like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to say that pressure helps me because everybody's got nerves when they fight, man. Everybody does. You know, some feel it the day of the fight. Some people feel it in the back in the locker room. Some people feel it walking out.
Right.
When I walk out, man, I just feel very free. And it's almost like that thing that I was telling you, like the willpower. A lot of things that I do in my life, you need a lot of will. You need to almost be able to convince your mind, like, hey, this shit doesn't hurt. I'll tell you what. Free diving. I love free diving. I love spearfishing.
It's tough to do, man.
The first time that you're doing your dives, that you're trying to like achieve good apnea, you know, like good breath hold, you know, you're going down to 40 feet, 30 feet already is considered, you know, decent. 40 feet. I was able to spearfish almost at 80 feet.
Wow.
You know, I was actually going down to 80 feet when I was doing it consistently. Down there, your lungs are like a third of the size that they are.
Right.
You are out of breath by the time you get down halfway because your lungs are just diminishing in capacity, you know. You got to tell your brain, like, I got air. I got plenty of air. But you're suffocating, you know, you're gasping for air. Until you finally become calm, you start using less energy. When you could lower your resting heart rate just because you can actually make yourself calm, that's like the willpower that I was telling you about with me walking in the cage and saying, whatever the fuck happens. But if I go in there terrified that this guy's going to hurt me, this guy's going to, now my game plan, like me being a counter, everything is off, timing's off, everything's off. You know, your cardio's going to get zapped because now you're not the one that's dictating the pace. Now you're not the one that's dictating the pace. Now you're nervous, you're tense, you know, you're all defensive. Everything gets off. So it's like, if you can get in there and you can be nice and calm and like you can truthfully trust in your training.
Right.
Almost like studying for a test. If you know that you studied and like you know everything, you know all the words, you know all the definitions, everything, you got no worries taking that fucking test.
Right. And you're not concerned whether you get an A, a C, a B plus, whatever, because you did the preparation and the work, right? And you go as hard as you can when you get in the ring. That's inspiring, man. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the fight that you have coming up with Mike the Marine. I saw him ringside because he came into the ring afterwards. You guys had like a little face-off. And he was watching you as everybody in the building, right? Because it was such an impressive performance. I got the sense that he was trying to figure you out.
Of course, he was commentating.
Right?
I heard what he had to say.
Ah, good, because I was going to bring that up. What'd you think about what he said?
Listen, bro, like we both respect each other's skills. You kind of, I mean, you'd be a fool not to. I mean, I'm not going to tell him what to do, but you'd be a fool not to. He was invested in the fight because he knew that he was going to be fighting us, if not next, maybe the fight after that. So I think he was impressed with my performance. I mean, he said he was impressed on commentary, and I definitely saw that he was trying to figure me out, and I think that I impressed him a little bit because after the Boswick fight, he came on one of the interviews saying, nobody at 75 can do anything to me. That was his reaction. So I feel like he feels like, not that Yuli was going to beat me necessarily, but it would definitely have been like a bloodbath, you know, like a fight of the night type fight.
Right.
And he was definitely trying to figure me out, but, you know, both me and him respect each other's skills, so of course he was going to try to figure me out. Also because he was on commentary, I got to see his reaction or hear his reaction
afterwards,
raw,
right?
You know, it's not like, you know, let's take an interview after the fight where you had a couple seconds to like simmer down. You know, it's almost like when Ngannou knocked out Rosenstrike.
Right.
And DC was on commentary and he goes, "Whoa!"
and he
like,
caught that instant reaction, right?
So I got to hear what he had to say like then and there, you know, in the moment. So. You know, it was nice, and I would be doing the same thing. If he was fighting and they invite me, hey, man, come on commentary, I'm like, for sure.
Absolutely.
We're professionals, man. At the end of the day, it's all like, we don't have to cheat to try to win. We don't got to sit there and try to, like, scheme in the back door. I don't give a flying fuck. We're fighting. Like, we're genuinely fighting. You know, it's not like, you know, we're not doing Cirque du Soleil with fucking steel chairs like in the WWE, even though, like, that does take a shit ton of talent.
Right. But this is real fighting. You guys are fighting bare knuckle, no gloves. Like, people are getting hurt.
Still depend on the fucking spectators. If nobody watches BKFC, where's my check go?
Right.
We wouldn't even be sitting here right now.
Absolutely.
You know? If nobody's paying to watch the people fight in the UFC, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. That sport would still be on pay-per-view and stuff like that.
It's entertainment.
Yeah, man. And look, you know, you do bring that entertainment factor because a lot of your fights you finish. Yep. You know, it's not stuff that you're letting it go to the decisions or the judge. And no, you're getting in there. You're showing off your skills. You're putting a hurt on other people, and you're ultimately finishing fights. And that's what attracts fans. Now, I wanted to ask you one more question before we get to the end of the interview. That interim title. How do you feel about that? Because you're undefeated, 5-0. You fought the guys who were lined up and have been champions before. Do you think that you should be the outright champion?
I'm gonna be the outright champion, so it doesn't really like matter to me, you know. The way that I see it is, regardless of what BKFC chooses to do, I'm not worried if I get the title now or if I get it in a fight. Nah, you know, like.
You know that everything has to come through you.
Dude, you almost have to be, I'm not saying delusional, but you definitely have to believe that you're the best, because if you get into fighting thinking that there's some kind of, I would bet the house on me if it was legal, you know?
Right.
But if you go into a fight thinking, you know, like what if this, what if that, don't fight. This isn't a sport to be second guessing, you know? Maybe baseball, maybe basketball, maybe tennis, you know, somewhere where it's not contact sport.
True.
So with me, it's like, all right, well, now I have the interim title. Thiago comes back and we fight. They don't have the disputed title, you know, or undisputed title.
Right.
If I fight the next person that I fight, they're gonna have to strip Thiago. If they strip Thiago, now I become the undisputed champion. So either way, to me, it does. Even if they say, "Oh, hey, you know what? Well, I'm sorry. Like we stripped Thiago. Now you have to fight to become great." I could not give a shit. I don't care if I walk out for a second. I don't care if this is for the belt, interim belt, undisputed belt. I don't care. To me, what really counts is the body of work that I put in. Because at the end of the day, a belt is 13 pounds of fucking, you know, gold-plated metal.
Right.
It's great. It's an awesome trophy. That's why
but
I love bringing it back.
It comes and goes.
And
it's like you said, it's a title that comes from the hard work and actually performing in the ring, right?
I'll stop when everybody recognizes me for who I am. they don't see the belt on my shoulder. They don't see it around my waist. They don't have to go on Instagram. When people go, holy shit, that's fucking Frank. That's Francesco Ricchi. That's,
Right.
do you know who that is? Like, when you start hearing people, like, whisper like that, like, I went into a freaking bar once, and there was a Birdman, Anderson.
Nice.
You know, from
the former Heat player.
Exactly.
Absolutely. All tatted up.
We saw him, and this was actually in Ohio when I saw him. And people were like, oh, shit, whispering like that. When people do that with me,
then you know you've made it.
you know what I'm saying? Like, right now, trust me, there's still, like, somebody recognized me at the UFC fights when Hamza fought Gilbert.
Dope.
And they go, champ. And I was with my girl and with our friends and shit. And he go, I know you, champ. And it was before I even had the belt. So
Look at that.
That's awesome. You know, like, I like that shit. But I enjoy it when it's earned. When I have it because I fucking have it, great.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there. Listen, if I'm fighting somebody that everybody thinks that I'm going to beat or everybody thinks that the person's going to beat, to me, it doesn't make a fucking difference. It's the body of work that you put in. You got to keep fighting. I'm not going to take a belt or an interim belt and be, you know, I am the champion.
got
I'm this,
it.
I'm that. That guy should be, who gives a fuck? I'm fighting for the promotion, right? That means that I'm not at the helm. I'm not the boss. I'm not the boss. Whatever the boss chooses to do, sometimes I may not agree with it, but he's the fucking boss. Even cops don't agree with the law that they enforce sometimes.
Of course, but you're the champ.
I am the champ. That means that right now, if somebody has anything to say about being the best in the world, they got to come through me.
Come see my dog, Frank,
That's
man.
it.
Yo, this guy is a problem, man.
Yes,
Frank,
sir.
thank you so much for doing this, bro.
You got
But
it, my
before I
brother.
let you go, man,
Yes,
just
sir.
between you and I, we're not going to tell anybody, all right? This is you and me. This is not here, dog,
Yeah.
all right? This is not here, just you and me. When's the fight with Richmond going to happen? Or are you going to try to pursue one of those other guys that we talked about off camera?
Listen, it depends on Richmond. I think that the fight between him and Mike Hunt, or him and Lorenzo Hunt, is set in stone. But I think that they're actually going to end up going forward with that fight because, one, Hunt doesn't have any contenders except for Doolittle, but I think that he might be hurt or something's going on with that.
Right.
So I think Richmond's put in enough work to choose to do what he wants. And he doesn't owe shit. If he was a champion, I'd be like, oh, fuck, you know, he needs to fight me, or I'm still not that kind of guy, but I'll be a little bit more bothered. I'll be
Right.
like, dude, I'm the one.
I need that fight.
You know?
Right.
You have what I want. He
Right.
doesn't. He can do what the fuck he wants. So I'm not going to go and try to promote a fight with me and Richmond because I need to fight Richmond to solidify. I don't give a flying fuck. I know I'm going to fight Richmond.
Right.
Whether it's before or after the Hunt fight or after who, it doesn't matter. I know I'm going to fight Richmond.
Everybody has to
I'm
come
not
through
going
you,
anywhere.
brother.
I'm staying here, and I know he's probably not going anywhere either. So I'm not worried about it. And if it's not Richmond, somebody else is going to have something to say. Somebody else is going to say Frank's not the champ or this, and I'm the champ. Great. Bring him.
Come see these hands.
Bring him.
Man.
And we'll see, man. The day somebody takes this belt off me is the day that somebody else can call themselves champion. Luckily, that day is far, far the fuck
Far,
away.
brother, far. And long may you reign, man. Long may
sir.
you reign.
I got a question before we wrap up.
Yes, sir.
BKFC, I think 28 is in London, August 20th. The headliners there, Mike Platinum Perry and Michael Venom Page. Who do you think is going to win that fight?
Come on, man. Fucking MVP.
MVP all day.
I mean, listen, this is what I'll say about like the whole Perry thing is, regardless of the fact, I think he's a shithead, but I like watching Perry fight because there's always action, whether he gets punched in the face or punches somebody in the face. I like his fights, you know. But Mike Perry can't fucking move his head to save his life. And MVP does hit hard. He might break his fucking hands for sure.
For sure.
Maybe. He's probably fought without gloves on before, but I don't think that he's ever hit somebody as hard as you hit somebody when you're in the setting, fighting a fighter, fighting somebody with as big of a head as Mike Perry and not break your hand. So he might break his hands for sure. But
you got
MVP's a
MVP.
boxer, dude. MVP, he's ranked number 1 in the world in Bellator, and it's not like Mike Perry ever even got close to the fucking title. You know, he didn't even sniff the nuts of the fucking champion when he was in the UFC.
Right.
So I think Mike Perry's going to get dusted. I just think that he took that fight because he would much rather get smoked from the number 1 guy in Bellator and MVP rather than myself. So I listen, if I had it my way, I pray that Mike Perry could win. That MVP slips on appeal, that they, maybe put something in his PDL like the day before. That I hope that it happens. Because if he wins, he might finally grow the sack to fight me. But is it going to happen?
Let's
Fuck no.
hope so, bro. Let's
Mike
hope
Perry
so.
wouldn't fight me if the fate of Wakanda depended on it.
Oh, Mike Perry, brother, you got no choice but to answer this, man. My man is holding the bow. He's waiting for you. Let's go, man. Make
Holding
the fight
his
happen.
nuts in his face. That's what I'm holding.
Oof. Frank, bringing the heat, brother. An amazing interview. Thank you so much for doing this for us, man. Shout out to your social media right now again, so that people can know where to find you.
So it's Francesco__Ricchi, and then follow Freedom Fighters MMA, Delray Beach Boxing, and my man SoSo.
Yeah, man. Sports with SoSo here at Delray Beach Boxing Club. Again, Frank, thanks for everything. Shout out to Delray Beach Boxing Club. And until next time, Peace. Yo, you
Hey.
brought that fire, brother. Thank you so much,
man. I did what I could.